Doom 2 released in 1994, and for all intents and purposes, it delivers some of the best bits of classic Doom. It's a sequel which adds more monsters, weapons, and larger levels. It also served as the basis for oh so many WODs and level sets throughout the years, yet this game only released 10 months after the original Doom. It had the weight of expectation upon it, and the team at id Software had their focus all over the place, yet the game miraculously arrived in a great state and is considered key for the Doom experience. But that doesn't mean there weren't oddities, quirks, or fun stories from the development of the game. In this video, I'm going to be taking a look at some of the funner aspects of that, even recounting some of the tales that almost saw the game take a completely different direction. This is the oddities and quirks of Doom 2. As most people know, the first Doom game launched as a shareware offering. This meant that the first episode of the game, Knee Deep in the Dead, was offered for free for download, while the remaining 2 episodes had to be purchased via mail order. That last part is important. Doom did not sell via retail outlets in its full form. This made accessing the game a bit of a chore for those who didn't want to deal with mail ordering. When discussions of a sequel popped up, it was GT Interactive who wanted to change this. Ron Chemowitz, an American businessman, set up GT Interactive in February 1993 and was looking for a killer game that he could sell in bulk to the likes of Walmart. Doom was busy blowing up during the time, and this caught his attention. He got in touch with id Software about working together on a Doom game, but the team at id were reluctant. They challenged him to sell 30,000 copies of Commander Keen to showcase his abilities, and he did just that, pushing Keen into retail stores as a boxed offering. Impressed by the results, id Software signed an agreement that would see Doom 2 being published via retail stores, meaning it would skip a shareware release altogether. The catch for this, the game had to be ready for Christmas 1994. It's been commented by John Carmack that an issue the team at id Software discovered after the release of the original Doom is that only 1% of people who actually played the free shareware version of that game actually paid for the full version. John Carmack discussed this in an interview when he stated, "A lot of people consider themselves to have finished Doom when they just finished the shareware episode." After the release of Doom in December 1993, id Software found itself at the centre of a frenzy. The franchise garnered monstrous amounts of attention from the gaming world, and many were keen to grab a slice of the franchise while it was white hot. This led to a lot of opportunities being thrown at id Software on a daily basis, attention that John Romero reportedly took on his shoulders. He became more involved in the business side of id Software, helping to oversee potential partnerships, negotiations, and also taking charge on id Software's investments in Raven Software, to the point where he was the lead producer on Heretic while playtesting builds of the game. He was also noted during this time to be playing a lot of deathmatch. What this meant for Doom 2 is less focus from id Software's most popular figure. It's a complaint that John Carmack made in the Masters of Doom book. His frustrations over missed deadlines and Romero's increasingly laissez-faire approach to the upcoming Doom 2 really began to cause tensions. He states this when he says, "And the work, Carmack thought, was beginning to suffer. Doom 2 was tailing behind schedule. While Romero was out being the company rock star, the levels that he had promised to create were not getting done. In fact, the company were now relying on other level designers, Sandy Peterson and a new employee, American McGee, to get the majority of the levels done. Out of the first 2 levels of Doom 2, Carmack noted only 6 were shaping up to be Romero's. Romero had his explanation, the levels he made simply took more time." But Carmack suspected something else. Romero was losing his focus. In addition to the interviews and deathmatching, Romero was now acting as executive producer on an upcoming game by Raven, the company they knew from Wisconsin. Romero had approached Carmack at one point with the idea to milk the Doom engine for all it was worth. "Let's make some more games using our technology," he said. "Let's get some stuff out there because we can get some money off of this. And Raven's a good group that would be perfect for licensing the engine and making a great game we can publish." Carmack agreed, but without enthusiasm. How much bigger did they need to get? Romero would check their levels, but in the end he only contributed 6 of his own to the final product. Romero also found himself in hot water for teasing and promoting Quake during Doom 2's promotional hype, being reminded numerous times by the team at id Software for overshadowing Doom 2 and overpromising what Quake would be. All of this goes some way to explaining why Romero doesn't have that many contributions within Doom 2. It's arguable that the final product could have been a lot better had he had more hand in it. It also planted the seed to future issues within the team during the development of Quake. You might not be aware, but Doom 2's levels saw revisions and changes in the months after the game's release. A lot of these tweaks and changes are small and adding revisions to levels or new secrets, but in the case of version 1.8 of Doom 2, it completely moved maps 1 and 2 of the game on the game's grid system. If you're not aware, Doom's levels are built on a 2D grid and every point on the grid has a coordinate. This is important when it comes to roof and floor textures, as the alignment of these textures is fixed depending on these coordinates. It's why when you look at a lot of custom WODs, textures like teleporters and roof lights can appear very out of place or poorly positioned. In version 1.8, the decision was made to move Doom 2's first and second levels close to the grid reference 00, the origin of the map. Map 1 was moved 2,376 map units south and 1,648 map units west. Map 2 was also moved closer to this space in a similar way. The end result of this was that in these levels, every roof and floor flat became misaligned, very obviously in some cases. This obviously was not intended and was quickly fixed in the version 1.9 update to Doom 2. For a brief time in Doom's history though, these levels looked absolutely awful. Fun fact, this also impacted the positioning of some enemies and items, leading to some items and monsters being placed incorrectly. You can see the legacy of this in Underhalls, as this shotgunner is still trapped in the wall, a holdover from all this movement. Outside of moving levels randomly, the team at id made a bunch of smaller additions to various levels and changed the way that they played out, and there's a whole lot of these that were snuck in, and I do recommend checking out BeefG's video outlining these changes in their full glory. One of the ones I particularly remember is these bars being removed from Underhalls. If you played the game at launch, there were bars here which the player had to activate in order to get to the switch. In the updated version of this level, the bars have been removed. Other changes include adding secrets into map 3, the Gauntlet, changing how doors and lifts operate in the waste tunnels, and adding in this little platform to make it easier to access the final part of map 11, Circle of Death. It's worth noting that this final edition did not actually make its way over to the PlayStation 1 or Game Boy Advance versions of this level. This is particularly odd as the PlayStation version of Doom 2 arrived a year after Doom 2 launched on PC. The Game Boy Advance version launched in 2002. I guess they really wanted to make this level harder for the players. A lot of players are aware that there are 2 secret outings in Doom 2 and that these are Wolfenstein levels. It's a very cool Easter egg for long-time id Software fans and lets people relive the greatness of those Wolfenstein 3D levels. The problem is that not everyone appreciates the content of those levels. When Doom 2 touched down in Germany, the 2 levels were removed outright from the WOD. If you try to jump to them using a level skip code, the game simply crashes and you have to start over. They didn't, however, remove the secret exit placed in map 15 that takes you to these levels. If you get your hands on the German Doom 2 WOD from this era and enter the teleport, the level still ends, but you get dumped into map 16. Speedrun strats confirmed. This isn't the only weirdness that can be found around these secret levels. As more and more versions of Doom have released over the years, sensibilities have changed and the people overseeing the games have deemed it necessary to remove the Nazi imagery from the levels. This censorship didn't really start happening until the release of the BFG edition of Doom 3. Everything leading up to that version, including the Xbox Live Arcade version of Doom 2, had the levels fully intact. In the BFG edition of the game, all the Nazi imagery on the walls and in the level have been removed. The enemies have also been replaced with zombie men. Slowly over the years, things will be added back in, with modified textures and SS soldiers making their way back into the levels. It's all very odd and a bit silly if you ask me. Luckily, Doom 2 was removed from the list of harmful media in Germany at the end of 2019, so this is no longer an issue. Doom 2's box art is iconic. It's been part of the game since its release. I think many people would consider it a huge part of the Doom 2 aesthetic, but id Software almost went with a different image. During the development of Doom 2, the team commissioned Julie Bell to create the original cover for the game. She worked on many box art covers over the years for many games, including Demon's Crest on the Super Nintendo and the box copy of Wolfenstein 3D. The image she created I think is really cool, however the team at id Software didn't like how the Cyber Demon, yes that's a Cyber Demon, appeared. They felt it was too off-brand, and so they went back to Joe Brom, the man who created the cover art for the original game. It's easy to understand why they did this. I think the final product is just a bit closer to the vibe of a Cyber Demon, but it's nice to see what we almost had, and I have to say, the artwork is actually really nice. Sandy Peterson was given a lot of work to do during the development of Doom 2. He contributed the most levels out of anyone, so of course he's entitled to have a bit of fun with some of those levels. I think though he had the most fun with map 16, Suburbs. In this level there are 2 houses next to each other, one in which the player starts in. These houses are unique in the Doom world as we never see any other houses or homes within the game. But what makes the inclusion of these two houses particularly amusing is that they're actually two houses that Sandy Peterson has lived in over the years. One of them is based off a childhood home of his, while the other is a house that he was living in while developing Doom 2. In fact, Sandy was so proud of this inclusion that he uploaded a house tour in 2020, going around and showcasing how accurate the house actually was. This is a very neat little Easter egg and adds to the charm of Suburbs. But I definitely have to say, I don't know if I'd want demons from hell climbing all over my sofa or imps hanging out in my garage like they do in his house. While Romero was busy during the development of Doom 2, it was left to Sandy Peterson and other members of id Software to put the levels together. The rest of the team at id Software though wanted Romero to be part of proceedings, maybe a little too much. If you've ever played a final level of Doom 2 or one of its many WODs, it's likely that you've come across the Icon of Sin. This is a statue with John Romero's head on it. The amusing thing here is that John Romero wasn't initially aware of this being in the game. It was only when he was testing Icon of Sin and did a no-clip through the wall that he found his face looking back at him. Amused by this, Romero went straight to Bobby Prince's office. The two concocted a plan. They were going to put a voice line from John Romero into the game, played backwards so that the player wouldn't know what they're actually saying. This is the origin of that iconic line when you stand in front of an Icon of Sin for the first time. Romero placed this into the game files and left for the night. The next morning, when everyone arrived at the office, they all saw that the level had been updated. When Peterson went to test out the level, he was surprised by what he heard. Everyone in the office got a good chuckle out of it, and the decision was made to keep both Easter eggs intact. And that's it for the quirks of Doom 2 on PC. Doom 2 on PC is a very important part of Doom history, and so many of these stories have been told over the years because so many people love the game. There's every chance I'll come back in the future and cover more quirks of Doom 2, much like I did with the compilation video for Doom 1 in the past, so let me know if there's anything you think I should have added.